Hi, I'm Christy. Today I want to talk about working with loved ones with cognitive disabilities. So, this week we continue working our way through various categories of disability and how to work with each category. This week we'll look at cognitive or mental disabilities. Probably the biggest area of concern with cognitive disabilities is knowing how to adapt the things to the mental capacity of the individual you're working with. It sounds simple, and sometimes it is. Other times, it can complicate the issue quite a bit. Let me explain. If an individual is diagnosed with a mental impairment at a young age, it might be hard to see it at first glance. They can easily appear delayed in their development, but as they learn new skills, this delay may appear to be shrinking or may appear to be less of an issue as time passes. However, as kids continue to grow and mature, the impact and degree of impairment often becomes more apparent. Typical kids continue to grow and learn new skills with minimal difficulty. At the same time, the individual with mental impairment struggles to learn the first few building blocks of a new concept in school or a new skill. It takes significantly longer to learn these first few building blocks. By the time these steps are mastered, the rest of their peers are numerous steps ahead of them. Often, it is nearly impossible to catch up. As more years pass, the gap between them widens with each year. Pretty soon, it's quite easy to see the gap between the two groups of students. And it's quite possible that there is no way for the individual with mental impairment to ever catch up to the level that their peers function at. At this point, making sure that the individual with a mental impairment is in a setting that adapts the learning environment to the level they understand is critical. Without this adaptation, there is little chance of them learning new skills or information. So, how do you adapt things to the level of the individual? Once again, the answer is both simple and complicated. The short answer is to simplify things to the level they understand. Sometimes using curriculum or teaching methods for younger students works great and provides a simple solution. Other times, using the available curriculum but explaining it in simpler terms works. And still other times, the instructor or parent must realize that the individual is simply incapable of learning that particular concept at this time. Let me give you an example. AJ functions and understands at an early to mid elementary level. This means that explaining anything to him at a higher level is likely to lead to frustration for both the instructor and AJ. But if the material can be presented and explained at an early elementary level, with enough repetition, AJ is likely to learn it. And with more repetition, he often masters the material. However, he still cannot grasp the value of numbers. He counts. He reads numbers. Not always accurately, but he reads them. He understands that numbers have value. But the difference between 10 and 100 is completely lost on him. And don't even try to explain the difference between 100 and 1,000, beyond his comprehension. This makes understanding cheaper versus more expensive quite entertaining. Mom, that app costs $3. That's so expensive. Well, no, not really, AJ. Mom, that's so cheap. That's literally the way a conversation with AJ goes. Trust me, I've had this exact conversation with him hundreds of times. He does a complete reversal of his original statement in the next statement out of his mouth. All I can do is throw up my hands in the air and roll with it and be entertained. It's that or frustrate both of us, and that's not a battle worth fighting. But it also makes talking about how fast a particular vehicle's top speed is rather entertaining. 65 for a school bus is slow, but a car going 70, 100, 150, even 200 all get a "that's so fast" response out of him. There's no comprehension of the difference between 70, highway speed, not a problem, and 150 or 200, something I don't ever want to be going. So, what's the key here? I think the biggest takeaway for working with cognitive disabilities is to be willing to adapt expectations to the level the individual is capable of reaching. Now, I'm not saying not to push each individual to the most they're capable of. Absolutely push people to reach their fullest potential. In this case, though, realize that the fullest potential probably isn't anywhere near where it would be for a typical individual. And that's okay. I think that one of the biggest problems of adapting expectations is to realize that our loved ones with mental impairment are not typical individuals. Their brains are wired differently than the rest of us. It's not wrong or bad, it's just different. In this case, different means they don't understand as much as we do. So we need to adjust how much and what we expect them to achieve in their lives. Now, that said, they're still individuals with dreams and goals of their own. As much as we can, we need to support, encourage, and help them achieve as many of those goals and dreams as they possibly can. This is one way we best honor them and their individuality. In the end, treating them as unique individuals is what they most desire, just like you and I desire to be recognized and treated as unique individuals. Everyone wins when we recognize and honor individuality. So, my question for you this week is this: how does your loved one's cognitive disability impact how they learn new skills? How do you teach them new skills? I'd love to hear about your experience. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. That's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This was originally posted in February of 2023. If you prefer, you can always email me at Christy, CHRISTY, at havenofhopeforme.com. I'm making sure that my expectations are realistic while still pushing AJ a bit so that I can continue to say that life is good and there is never a dull moment.